Why are people getting sick in the Nights of Guinevere? What is blue lung, and how is it related to the parks? Is there any way to reverse it? And of course, what the heck does any of this have to do with the Walt Disney Company? Yeah, this one's perfect for a theory, huh? Hello internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's
in dire need of rescue.
So hey, have you guys seen the pilot for the Nights of Guinevere? If you don't know, this is a new show created by Dana Terrace, who previously created The Owl House, and Glitch Productions, the talented folks behind the amazing digital circus. No joke, but The Owl House might be in the top 5 most requested series to do a theory about for us ever, and believe me, we are working on one. So a new show from this creator was absolutely something I wanted to hop on immediately. And man, there was a lot going on here. An awesome new world to explore, animation that bounced from adorable to violent, cameos galore, and jokes. So many jokes.
Why would anyone splice the facial controls into the environmental pipeline? It's not a very sophisticated solution.
The pilot follows a pair of characters named Frankie and Andy, 2 women who work for or around Park Planet, an amusement park run by, well, the Park family. And if you say the word park enough, it sure does start to lose meaning. Anyway, clearly something malicious is going on around Park Planet, as everyone around it seems to be getting sick, and it's causing them to cough up this weird blue stuff, or even turn blue in some other cases. Just saying, it's not going well for the average Joe around here, but the rich don't seem to care as long as the parks remain operational. Speaking of, Park Planet is built around the character Princess Guinevere. She's kind of like their Mickey Mouse meets Disney princess mascot, animatronic, and main character all wrapped up into one. But something darker is going on with Guinevere too. It seems like there's a consciousness inside of her that doesn't want this and is willing to go to any lengths to escape.
It's okay, Papa. They'll bring her back. And when they do, I'll fix her again.
And if she's confronted with something big and scary, she isn't afraid to throw down. This pilot was awesome, so please go watch it so Glitch knows that there's an interest in more episodes. But most importantly for us, here on Film Theory, there are a lot of threads that they could pull on for the story that they're crafting here, which could make for some good theory fodder. If you're interested in hopping onto the theorizing bandwagon with this new series, there's already a subreddit with a dedicated community, and I'm sure Discord isn't too far behind. Oh, and I also want to give a big shout out to friend of the channel Whitney Vision, who shared her notes for the pilot and made this quick turnaround possible. It already takes us like 2 weeks to actually make a video minimum, and between our new merch and SIF coming up and other secret projects, it's been heckin' busy here at Theorist, so that was a lifesaver. Thanks, Whitney. Anyway, speaking of theory fodder that could really go somewhere, there's like a QR code hidden in the show leading to a hidden website, which will definitely have ARG elements in there. There's also mention that the model of the Guinevere bot that they find in the trash isn't really one that any of the characters recognize, so there's something going on there too. Whether this is a new one, an old one, or just a secret one, that remains to be seen. Oh, there's also like the weird, interesting case of Frankie seeing that like fantasy world with her 3 plushes talking to her.
Do it, Francesca. Bite the hand that feeds.
But when Andy gets home, she sees reality, which just shows that they're, well, plushes, only a little weirder. Is something going on with Frankie here? Like, is she seeing the same sort of fantasy world that the Guinevere bots are? Let's just say I'm very interested to see where this goes. But today, I want to tackle some of the biggest mysteries that the series has introduced. What exactly is this mysterious blue lung sickness that all of the average folks seem to be contracting? How exactly is it related to the parks? And is there any way to reverse it? Why are the parks spreading this sickness in the first place? And maybe, most weirdly of all, how the heck is this actually a story about the little guy getting back at giant corporations like Disney and fighting them with their own art? Get your blue burgers and talking plushies ready, loyal theorists, as we jump into this fight. Though, just really quick, I have to say that I really love the designs and clothes of these characters. Dana really knows how to design a good outfit, something we here at Theorist really respect. Like, it was something Matt always low-key loved, that's why he wore the jackets all the time, because clothes can really carry a character. That's why we started Creators in Fashion, a real honest-to-God fashion show where you can see some of your favorite creators show off the awesome designs they've cooked up for their merch. Last year's show was huge, and this year it's gonna be even bigger. We just relaunched Theoryware and wanted to really show it off to the masses, and I couldn't be more excited for you guys to see what we got coming down the pipeline. This year, alongside myself and the other theorists putting in an appearance, Amy from Style Theory is hosting, and Matt Pat himself is returning to MC the whole show. And guests include the Try Guy, Eyes, Linus Tech Tips, Queen Tofu, Evan and Caitlin, and so many more. Oh, and also heard that the Stupendium is going to be making a special appearance alongside our very own Tom from Game Theory. I wonder what those musical boys got cooking up. Plus, there are going to be some dope reveals and runway walks planned, and I just can't wait to strut my stuff, dude. So if you want to be part of this one-of-a-kind show, tune into Style Theory on October 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's seriously going to be an awesome experience, and I'm just so hyped for you guys to check it out. But enough of that, let's get back to the theory. So one of the biggest storylines below the surface of this pilot was the fact that a lot of the characters seem to be getting sick, and specifically hacking up a strange blue liquid. Like it happens with this cranky dude who confronts Andy, coughing it up into her face. Like, jeez, did COVID teach us nothing? Like, come on, guy. And then later, when Andy is making a deal with Sparky, they spit in their hands and shake on it. But when Sparky looks at his hands, we see that there's blue gunk in it from Andy. So it looks like she's at the beginnings of getting sick too. We see on various ads and billboards throughout the episode that this is likely a disease called blue lung. And it's a big enough issue that there are companies literally offering insurance for it. What's more, this unnatural blue color seems to be a recurring motif in split-second moments from the pilot. Some newborn babies are being born blue, park food being blue, blue smoke coming from the industrial areas of the park, blue liquid in barrels being dumped from the park, that sort of thing. Like, even the Guinevere bots seem to be bleeding blue. Now, at first I thought that this might be literally a stand-in for blood. Like it's a way for Glitch to get away with having a lot of gory-looking fights in the series without it being actual blood and guts. Like they even say in the show that robots run on
blood and fear.
So maybe that's literal. See, YouTube will ding and often age-gate videos that have excessive blood in them. We've actually used this same trick before with some of our editors going in and changing the color of blood in scenes that we're showing to make it feel less human. Well, like we did this with a couple of Invincible theories, for instance, because blood is just all over that show. And I mean, with what we see with some of the Guinevere robots, I don't think they would be getting away with this if it was like actually red blood, right? I mean, Olivia is dragging along one of the robots by her intestines in the cold open. It's covered in blue liquid, and these characters are like coughing up blood, so maybe that's it. Is what I was thinking, at least until the last scene of the show. Yeah, towards the back quarter of the episode, when Frankie and Andy are getting beat up by that big Sir Arthur Sun Knight, they both bleed, and it's clearly red blood. So this blue stuff clearly has something else going on here. But what could it be? Well, given the information we have about newborns being blue, I wonder if there was something there we could dig into to get us some answers. Babies, or anyone really, turning blue is known as cyanosis, and it's caused by a lack of oxygen or poor oxygen circulation, which, hey, lines up pretty well with the idea of blue lung, but also comes with the side effect of, you know, being dead. Well, at least in a lot of cases, since, you know, your body isn't getting the amount of oxygen it needs to survive. So I'm not sure that's what this is. Well, it could also be a symptom of pulmonary fibrosis, a disease that hits the lung and can be caused by radiation exposure to the chest. There might be more to work with here, since the idea of these robots giving off radiation seems entirely within the realm of possibility, right? It's just like kind of the vibe of this show, right? In fact, on parkplanet.net, the promotional website for the Knights of Guinevere series, which is framed as an in-universe webpage, one of the warnings in the safety and rules section reads, "Don't hug me too long, I damage genomes." That seems like a very radiation-coded warning, doesn't it? But that's not the only thing that this could be. In fact, I think the radiation answer doesn't really account for all of the weird blue smokestacks and food and other stuff we see throughout the show. But thankfully, there are other potential answers here. Like, first up, if something is coloring your saliva or mucus blue, that is not normal, and it's usually the result of certain foods or dyes getting into your system. Makes sense with the blue-colored smoke and such, but that's also kind of unsatisfying. Another option, though, could be cobalt poisoning. There could be a lot of the element cobalt in the air and food and stuff like that. Oh, and shoutouts to Reddit user NoFaceToday, who was the first person I saw point this out and got me to look into it, though it looks like they got it from Tumblr to start with. See, if you have a lot of cobalt in your system, that can lead to cobalt-induced cardiomyopathy. Basically, it gives you circulation problems like we've discussed already. They also claim that it can cause blue saliva, but I've had trouble finding a credible scientific source on this, so please let me know in the comments if you can find one, because I think this is a really cool answer to this question. Also, side note, but I can't hear cobalt and not think about cobalt and calcium, a big fan site for my favorite band ever, Coheed and Cambria. Shoutouts to all of my fellow children of the fence. Gut Apollo 1 is their best album, don't at me. Anyway, another idea? Well, it could also be silver. See, there's a strange side effect of prolonged exposure to silver or silver dust known as argyria, which turns the body blue. This was most famously seen with a man named Paul Carrison, who applied a mixture containing silver to his skin to try to treat some of his health issues. Carrison and others suffering from argyria didn't ever really cough up blue fluids or anything like that, at least as far as I could find, so the connection here is a little thin, but this does make more sense with the skin turning blue like those babies that we see on the show. And here's the thing, silver is also widely used in improving soft robotics. So, robots that could look, act, and feel like human beings. Kind of like Guinevere, right? Though honestly, in the end, it's likely we won't end up knowing like the exact chemical composition of this blue stuff and whether it contains cobalt or silver or some other magical sci-fi technobabble. But I mean, come on, it's still fun to speculate. So here's what I'm thinking. Obviously, the parks and their technology are having some negative effects on the people working there and the folks on the planet's surface. They're constantly getting bombarded with whatever this blue stuff is, whether that's mutated robot blood or radiation or cobalt or silver or some weird sci-fi concept we haven't been introduced to yet or some combination of the lot. And this is causing an epidemic disease that's destroying the lungs, skin, and bodies of everyone impacted by it. But then this begs the question, why? What could possibly be worth endangering everyone in and around the parks on this? I mean, even if we wanted to think it's just some cartoonishly evil version of corporate greed, more than it is in real life, and they don't care about hurting their workers or the people under the parks, the rich folks in this world don't seem immune to this damage. Orville has blue splotches on his skin, just like the older guy who coughs on Andy does. What could possibly be so important to put everyone at risk like this? Well, the answer to that is easy. Family. Stick with me here. In the show's cold open, when we're introduced to Olivia as a child, we get this strange line in an interaction with her father, Orville.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. I hope this can make up for... I don't think I need to say it.
He then goes on to say that Olivia should let go of her past because her future can be as bright and beautiful as the parks. So I could read this as meaning a couple of different things. Like, first off, it could be that Olivia's been diagnosed with some terrible illness. I mean, we do see her very sick when she's older later in the episode. But alternatively, well, maybe they're talking about her mom, a mother who has died. We don't really see Olivia's mother in the show other than maybe this painting above Olivia's bed. We see a girl with dark hair flanked by what seem to be her mother and father, though we can't really see them. They're like out of focus and their heads are cut off and that sort of stuff. Now, your first thought might be that this girl is Olivia and the two figures we don't see are her parents. But the more I've thought about it, there's another possibility. While these two girls look very similar, notice how Olivia has bright, blondish hair in this opening scene? Dana later confirmed this to be white or silver, but the girl in the painting has very dark brunette hair? Well, what if they weren't the same girl? What if this little girl in the painting is Olivia's mother, and that's why they look so similar? Is that a big swing? Maybe, but that would mean that this is a portrait of Olivia's mom and grandparents, which is also why we don't see her father's face. It'd tip us off that this is an entirely different family unit than it's implied to be. So combine this with the fact that Olivia is clearly sad, obsessed with fixing the robot in this room, and that her father is trying to make up for something bad that happened? Not too hard to put two and two together here and assume that her mother has died. But on top of that, I believe that some part of the mother, whether it be her mind, her soul, her consciousness, has been reused or trapped within Guinevere in some way. To be honest, this one's a bit of a big swing at the moment. There is a bit of evidence here, enough that I wanted to raise it, but there was one particular moment that kind of sealed the deal for me, that made me feel confident enough to bring it up here. The Guinevere bot we see in the cold open, the one that Kid Olivia is working on, well, it's difficult to see, but when she takes her Olympic dive into the park trying to escape Olivia and Orville, you can see very clearly that her hair isn't completely blue. There's some brown or black still there in the tips. This seems like a very, very intentional detail, especially when those dark tips aren't really part of any other Guinevere's design. And when you just showed us a little girl with brown hair that's different than the other little girl in the show. What if parts of Olivia's mother have been literally reused here? Or if an earlier version of the Guinevere bot had completely brown or black hair to emulate her more, but that was changed to blue to be more fitting with the park. And believe it or not, but that's not all. So the name Guinevere was definitely chosen intentionally. See, that's actually a name that comes from Arthurian legend, and if you actually look into who that character is, it tells us a lot. How so? Well, in many versions of the legend, Guinevere was the wife of King King Arthur. And wouldn't you know it, but there's also a version of Arthur in the Knights of Guinevere. Remember that giant robot with the sun face that attacked Frankie, Andy, and Guinevere towards the end of the episode, which Guinevere then totally wrecked off screen? His name is Sir Arthur, and he's voiced by Sung-Wan Cho, the internet's very own Pro ZD. And wouldn't you know it, but Sung-Wan Cho also voiced Orville Park. So the robot representing Guinevere's husband is voiced by the same person who voiced Olivia's dad. So it makes sense that her mom would be Guinevere. And just really quick, you might be thinking, hey, Sung-Wan voiced like 5 characters in the pilot. It could just be reusing a great voice actor in multiple roles. Like, it's not uncommon for an actor to have a billion different parts in a project like this, since most of them have incredible range. Like, did you know that the same actor voices Vegeta, Piccolo, Yamcha, Nappa, Popo, and over 3 dozen more characters in Dragon Ball? That's still wild to me, man. And hey, that might be true here in the Knights of Guinevere too, but also consider this. The same actor voices both Orville and Sir Arthur in the French, German, Dutch, Russian, Ukrainian, and Indonesian dubs of the show, though not in the Spanish one for some reason. Regardless, that many dubs having the same actor is way more than can be considered a coincidence. That was an intentional choice, one that suggests that Sir Arthur is supposed to be a robotic representative of Olivia's father Orville, and thus just more evidence we can point to Guinevere being a representative of her mom. So of course, this now then begs the question, is there anything else we can pull from Arthurian lore to get an idea of where things might be headed? And the answer is yes, totally. In some versions of the Arthurian legend, Guinevere also had a romance with Arthur's nemesis Mordred, who was also Arthur's son, which just makes that very messy and complicated, the family drama. So potentially there could be a Mordred character introduced at some point, but something that's even more likely to me? Well, Guinevere also has another famous romance with one of the Knights of the Round Table, Arthur's trusted friend, Sir Lancelot. And wouldn't you know it, but this eventually caused the death of Arthur and the downfall of his kingdom. So then, wouldn't it be interesting if then, alongside Sir Arthur in the pilot, we saw another giant robot? Oh wait, we totally do! One that has a moon crest around his face rather than a sun. What if this is the stand-in for Lancelot in the Knights of Guinevere? That could mean that this giant robot is going to switch sides at some point and join the Knights of Guinevere, or maybe become a character conflicted and torn between the parks and Guinevere the robot. Or hey, maybe he could just cause the downfall of the parks entirely for some other reason. That would just be like a completely alternative telling of this story, right? Like a different take of this Arthurian legend entirely that tells it from a different point of view. And you know what? Honestly, that might be the entire point of this story. I don't know if you picked this up at all, like it was pretty obvious if you knew what you were looking for, but a lot of the inspiration for the Knights of Guinevere seems to be based on the Walt Disney Company. Like, don't get me wrong, there's certainly more going on here, but if you think about who created the show and how Disney cut Dana Terrace's previous work short with the Owl House, and how much criticism Disney's gotten over the years for how they treat their artists and stories, that connection just makes sense, and it's all over this show. There's a point where we see a design drawing for Guinevere covered in notes that absolutely seem like they're from some committee trying to force all of the character out of her. Something I bet Terrace had to deal with a lot, unfortunately. And there's a news article in the same part of the episode about a live-action remake of some Guinevere animation getting greenlit because, quote, no one asked for it, so we're making it. A clear swipe at the mouse. Even the fact that the parks are polluting themselves and the people responsible for creating what drives their business connects back here to destroying people and long-term planning for the sake of short-term profit. And there are just more and more connections, but you get the idea. So just think about what Disney does, what they've built their empire on. They take pre-existing myths and fables and then sanitize them. Or they buy a company, force it into their machine, and extract all the value they can out of it, all while making sure it fits into the narrative they want to tell. And then they sell you on the whole experience, where? At their parks. Knights of Guinevere is taking that idea and doing their own spin on it. Ironically, they're doing what Disney does to Disney. Like, yes, they're clearly using imagery of Disney and their parks for the parks in the show, but they're also doing their own spin on Arthurian legend, which also happens to be the source material for one of Disney's most iconic animated films. But instead of sanitizing it, instead of it becoming a story told from the point of view of the corporation, it's now from the point of view of the little guy, the people who actually do the work, the maintenance, the dirty jobs that create the art we love. It's about that art taking a stand against the corporations using it for their own despicable purposes. And given everything going on in the world right now, man, we could certainly use a lot more of that. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory. I was wrong about the amazing digital circus.